Well, hot off the heels of one janky second-hand coaster comes a second janky second-hand coaster. But this time, it's given us a bit of a nightmare. Oh yes, welcome back to Planet Coaster, welcome back to our low-budget janky park inspired by Oakwood and Pleasurewood Hills here in the UK, or as I'm starting to lovingly call it, the Battle of Swathes of Open Space, because this is neither low budget nor in an open space, but it's fine. That's going to be a drama that's going to keep dramaing for quite some time, because this is the Battle of Open Spaces, and I'm still getting a feel for how all of this is going to work, but this is the focus of this week, the continuation of that open space. But I did also put out a post on the community tab asking you for inspiration for 2 gaps of coasters. Now, you all came up with some brilliant ideas, as you always do. There were also the Eurofighter and the Eurofighter adjacent coasters like the El Loco, and there were also the Woodies as well. However, one other suggestion really stood out. Schwarzkopf. It's a no-brainer. I don't even know why I didn't think of it myself. We literally have an unused coaster up the road that we could have bought and put into the park. It's Knightmare at Camelot. So that's what we're going for. I set out to start to do a recreation of it, and then I lost my rag. So I went on the workshop, and it turns out Digital Dan has actually done a recreation of Knightmare. So if you guys don't mind and he doesn't mind, I'm actually just going to use his and create our own version of that. So the supports and stuff will all be his work, and the layout is his work, and that's because by the time this goes out, the Planet Coaster 2 stuff is going to have developed a little bit more. You're going to see why. You're already going to know why, so I hope you can appreciate why. So this is what we're doing this week then. I am continuing the Swathes of Open Space, although at the moment this looks like a lot of paths. I have put in a couple of rides just to accent the open space theme. Of course, the train station is in and the railway goes through it. I've got a restaurant that's at the top there. I don't think that's going to be this episode. If I've got time, I'll do it, but I don't think that's going to be this week's episode. But we've got some toilets here. We do also have this. It's very much inspired by, I think it's called, I don't know what it's called. It's at Oakwood anyway, and it's just a massive warehouse. There's an arcade and a gift shop. So of course I'm going to go and rob from that. But hopefully, what I'm hoping is that this idea of Swathes of Open Space is going to really start to accent itself. Anyway, that's what we're dealing with this week. I am going to go and build. I will see you in a minute. Alright then guys, in news that should surprise nobody, it's the middle part of the episode. It's time to show you around some unfinished stuff. But just to give you some context of timings in real life, I played Planet Coaster 2 today, and my god, it is so good. If you haven't already watched the videos, which are probably already buried by the algorithm, they're already out there, feel free to go ahead. But yeah, that's a bit of context, so this sort of gives you an idea of when this was filmed and why I needed to make this episode a little bit shorter, or at least less effort than usual. But I actually like how this is turning out. This whole idea of space and creating space for the whole thing to breathe, I love it. Like, it's turning out absolutely perfectly. Like this bit here, yes, loving it. This bit here, loving it. I have decided, by the way, just to do the shape of this building. I'm not going to get this done in this episode. I'll put the path covers and stuff down so I know what the area is going to feel like. But yeah, anyway, I should probably stop telling you about the stuff I'm not going to do and the stuff I don't like, and talk about the stuff that I do, because I'm going to start down here. And yes, I am actually quite liking this. This feels like it's an old warehouse that's been made into something. It's almost like the boundary of the park might have been here in the past. There's going to be a forested area here, right? So it's going to be backing upon this foresty bit. Well, I've just decided that it needs to feel like it's an old warehouse that's been made into an arcade. Now, this is a direct rip from Oakwood. This is exactly what Oakwood have done with theirs. The difference is I'm actually tacking a gift shop onto the other side here. So, of course, it needs windows and it needs doors and all of the usual stuff outside. And, of course, I need to finish the wall here. But you get the idea, right? But inside, it is just a room of games. Nothing else. It doesn't need to be anything else. I am going to do some decorating on the walls and stuff, but it's not going to have a ceiling as such. It is just going to be an open space where this corrugated stuff is exposed. I don't know whether I'm going to make this wall meet or not. I don't think it would be a full partition. I actually think it would just be a warehouse. So that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking there. So I just need to put in some of the more textures along the walls and just make it come to life a little bit. But ultimately, yeah, I'm happy with that. But this is the bit on the outside that I wanted to do. I definitely want to have a different path texture. It feels like it would be patioed almost, and I think I might put some picnic benches and stuff in here. But what I did think to myself is, yes, we're creating space in the idea of having all of the lawns and stuff outside here, but actually I think it would also be possibly a little bit segregated away. So I've just put the wall up here. I'm not entirely sold on the structures of the wall, but I mean, from guest view it looks alright, and I can put in some foliage and whatever into here just to bring it to life. In fact, foliage is going to be the thing that's going to bring this build to life. It's not about the buildings, it's not about the theme, it's not about the stuff, it's going to be the foliage, because that's what's going to create the idea of space, whatever. So yeah, I'm alright with that. Path cover looks alright, this looks alright, happy with that. Then we come to this section. I don't remember if it was in, actually. The whirly rig that was here, it's gone. It's too much. I don't think it was in on the first one, actually. I don't remember. It's been literally a week and a half since I filmed the first bit. So long. So much has happened. Anyway, this bit is now feeling quite nice. What I did do is just do this like little flower planter thing. I've used something similar in the past. It's just made up of some planks and the concrete column cap. Which is difficult to say when you're sober, let alone when you're drunk. So yeah, I've just put those in because it sort of feels like I needed to have some kind of planter effect going on in the space rather than allowing actual plants. But the breakdance is now in. The queue is now done. This is kind of how I want it to be. I do this all the time, right? This isn't new, and I actually take this from Canada's Wonderland in the sense that you don't need to have the full pad. You just sort of cover off this pad with a fence, and then you can just put foliage and whatever behind it. I'm going to have all of this overgrown. I want this to be overgrown. I want this to be high foliage and whatever, so that's why I haven't completely done all of the grass and whatever around the back here, because I know that a lot of it's going to be hidden by this sort of overgrowth, right? It feels right, and then it's going to come out into a more open area here, and I think I want this bit to be overgrown too, almost like they've just cut some stuff away to put the railway line through and to put the breakdance in. But again, that's going to come about later on. Then the balloons. It's nice and simple, right? It's just a fence, and I have actually put the topiary in as well. I don't know if I need to make the topiary higher. I like the idea that the fence is sticking over the top, and that it's just there as a barrier more than anything else. So I think I'm just going to leave. That there. The toilets are now looking good inside. This is what we've got inside. So we've got cubicles on the outer walls, and we've got the sinks next to each other. I don't know if you can see it because of the roof. There you go. The sinks next to each other, and of course the guys have got urinals, and the girls, I don't know what I'm going to put on this wall yet. It feels like it needs something, but I don't quite know. I don't quite know what. I did decide to put a privacy screen here, because this door does look into the urinals. In hindsight, I think I probably should have done this. I don't think you get the same problem the other way around if I did it the other way around. So yeah, you've got the privacy screen there, so that's that's what that's for. And then I just need to put foliage and signs and whatever along here. But yeah, it's looking good. I quite like the two-tone building, by the way. The difference in materials that we've got. It's looking good. This is then the coaster. I like how this is turning out. Say Digital Dan did an amazing job at the supports. They're good enough. So I'm just going to use that. But the station itself is a nice simple affair. I sort of needed something that was going to hold this structure. So you could imagine that there's metal beams and girders and stuff inside this roof structure, and that's why it's on a slant, because it sort of needs to be able to support its own weight and whatever. So that's what I've gone for. But yeah, I've coloured it blue and purple. It felt like this would be like a two-tone blue style coaster. No theme or whatever. And then, of course, the station being quite simple in its design. I have just put the don't die fencing and stuff all along here with the baggage hold. And then I've started to kit out the station with all the usual electronics and stuff that you would see. Of course, it needs a bit of touching up. I need to do some work around here just to bring it all together. And then I have used two different types of fencing on this one. I wanted to try this out, and I wanted to see what it was like with two types of fencing, because you see this quite often with coasters, right? So that's what I'm going for, and I think it works. I think it's they're similar enough to be similar, but they're different enough to be different. I like it. And then you've got the queue line, of course, that's got your different queue line fencing. I've gone for the wood and stuff. Inside the actual ride area, I am going to pebble this all out because that feels like that's what you would do in this kind of park. And then this is the maintenance area. I've actually edited this slightly. It's a weird sort of setup that Knightmare had. I'm kind of inspired by it, but the maintenance area on Knightmare was actually in this bit here, but we don't have space to put it. But what I did see is other Schwarzkopfs have this like weird transfer track that you could push the train forward or backwards, and you could hold all three trains. So and you'd have one here, and then one on the transfer track as it's sitting there. So that's kind of what I'm going for. There's no cover, and I don't think it would have a cover. It's quite a sad, sorry little coaster actually. But yeah, I mean, it's fine. And I have reduced the number of trains from 4 to 3. I did originally have 4. It would cope with 4, but this maintenance area didn't make sense. With it. Then we've got the photo unit. It's just your normal photo unit. There's not really much to talk about here. It's going to double up as a bit of a smaller gift shop. I do just want to have like some kind of variation to the units that I'm doing. And then this is the train station. This is the train station pretty much done, by the way. I found these fences on the workshop. Actually, they came through when I did Conifer Slopes. They came down as part of the TMTK pack, so I was like, yes, they're perfect for the train station. I didn't want to completely use them for the queue, though. I did want a different queue line fence, so I think they match. I think they look okay. Just a little bit of detailing done, but this is ultimately all the train station is going to be. It's going to be an open air affair. So like I say, I'm not going to get the restaurant done in this episode. I don't want to get the restaurant done because I think that needs to come with whatever's this area is going to be. But that's how we're looking. Loving it so far. Guys, I've got some video editing to do, so I will see you in a minute. Alright, I'm tinkering. That normally means one thing: I am done for now. It means that whatever I'm working on is sufficiently done enough for me to start working on the stuff outside and behind and whatever. So I'm ready to call it, and I'm actually happy with how this is. This idea of space is actually starting to come together. Like when you look at this in context of everything, yes, this is now starting to feel exactly as I wanted it to. Particularly this bit. I wanted it to feel like it was maybe the back end of the park that wasn't in use at one time. You know, like the queue line for this would have been the other side, and the railway line would have been the perimeter, and they've come in and they've just stuck a load of tarmac paths down, slapped a coaster on the terrain and called it a day. And I like it, right? I really like it. Let me know in the comments whether you agree or not. I really like doing this whole tarmac stuff as well. I think it's just the firehouse roof. It's nothing particularly special. It's just coloured a particular grey that the tarmac uses. But I like using path covers because you get to do these kind of intricate things. I think the Planet Coaster 2 pathing tool is probably going to let us do something very similar, and I'm actually quite excited for it. But yeah, like it's just got a vibe, and you can't really explain it, and I think it's gonna need the rest of the context of the park, right? So it's gonna need the stuff here, and it's gonna need the stuff along the back here. But ultimately, this, I think, is my new favourite view. It's just jank. Just look at it. It's gross, but it's perfect. It's actually perfect. Like, this is just a converted warehouse. Probably quite a badly converted warehouse, actually. And that's just how Oakwood's arcade is. Honestly, look at this walkthrough video, and he goes into the arcade, and it is this. I've kept the runners on the original entrance, and these would probably be windows that have now been converted into doors. It's called Play Zone because that's the sort of name that this thing would be given, and this would be the old work area that's now been patioed over. Just put down some benches and whatever in this space, and then I just put some games machines and whatever out because that's exactly what it would have. And then when you walk inside here, this is as depressing as it gets, but it's also as depressing as Oakwood's is. So like I'm happy with this. I know that this is not an arcade, this is not a beautiful arcade, and it's not meant to be a beautiful arcade. It's a warehouse. It's a warehouse space that they've just monetized, and I love it. I actually quite like now how the walls have sort of enclosed the area, particularly now that the plants and stuff are in. This is sort of made it come to life quite a bit. The gift shop, it's just jank. This is full jank. Like I didn't even do the partition wall in the end. I didn't think the space would be separated. They would just put this wall up and just be done with it, just so they can sell crap to guests, and I am so here for it. It's just awful, isn't it? But perfectly awful. That's the thing, it's full circle awful. So this space is now quite nice. It hasn't really changed much from the last time you saw it. As I said, it's just the flowers and foliage and whatever that brings it to life, and a bit of terrain paint, and that's it, right? So yeah, it's decent. I didn't mention this in the previous update, by the way. I kind of wanted this to feel like this had been trodden through and they decided to put a path down, but they did it cheaply. They didn't use the original path texture, so they didn't get the bricks and whatever. They actually just put down some of that dappled textured tarmac, and that's what this is. You've got the black tarmac, and then you've got some kind of like sandy style tarmac. It makes absolutely no contextual sense as to why it's there. It's just there. But again, this is this sort of thing that this park would do. You'd find lots of things tacked on, and I think this is also what's missing from the jank, tacked on stuff. Everything at the moment feels really uniform. Everything at the moment feels really stylized. It doesn't feel like it's grown up over the years with no consistency. That's why I think this area feels so good, because there is no consistency with the rest of the park. It's like this bland tarmac texture, an open space, but you get such a good, awesome view. Like, I really like it. Digital Dan did an amazing job at this coaster. It's perfect. It's the perfect shape. It's the perfect profiling. Everything. Yes, I absolutely love it. So the toilets. This is the toilet block. I think this has come together as well. I wanted it to be a bit more overgrown actually, but the pieces that we've got and whatever don't lend itself very well to being overgrown. I think this would be the sort of thing that we would need the resize tool for. See, I'm already planning stuff we're going to be doing in Planet Coaster 2, even though it's not out yet. I love it. Now I've played it, I'm like, oh yes, I'm horny for it. So this is the latest toilets. All done in here. I just decided to put posters and stuff up on the wall, and I did actually put a real life vending machine in here. When the park gets let loose, and you really let it loose, you get like 10,000 guests, and there are not enough food units and whatever around to accommodate for all of that. So yeah, I've just put some stuff in just to help if you do download the park and want to let the park run riot. So there you go, there's another one in there, and then these are the guys' toilets. So just touching up work and whatever, a couple of posters and stuff dotted around, but nothing too heavy going on in there. But then you've got the pathway coming through this way. This is exactly as I wanted it to be. Sort of almost like it hides the toilet block, but you don't hide it because you've got two paths that can go there. Yeah, I like it, and especially as it's coming from like this side as well. I've also just in this area started to do the patio. As I said, I'm not doing this bit. I've put some windows and whatever in just to give it a bit of a vibe, but I'm not doing any of this work. I just put the patio down, the tarmac down, because I wanted to complete this area. I wanted to put the picnic benches out. I wanted to put the dirt down on the grass and that sort of stuff, because it needs to complete this area. So over in the actual coaster itself, then, which by the way is supposed to be the star of the show, lots of like touching up and dirtying work going on. So the pebbles are all down. I've overgrown the area slightly, not too much. It wouldn't be unkempt, but it certainly wouldn't be manicured, and it certainly wouldn't be tidy. Just dirt decals just to age it ever so slightly, but again, I don't want it to be falling apart aging. I just want it to be aging slightly. It would possibly be relatively new. I say relatively new, maybe, I don't know, 2010, 2015, this would have put in, so it would be showing its age by now. Inside the station, touching up work happened, all of the, oh, I just need to move that bin. I had a crash, there we go. I had a crash and it's put the bin back to where it was. So yeah, just like fluorescent lighting and stuff in here, which by the way, I have also done the lighting package for. I know I rarely show this to you, right, but there you go, there's the lighting package, and it's got that fluorescent lighty type green glow to it. It's gross, but that's the station. It's just broken down as well. Good timing. That's the station. The clutter and stuff all in here, and then the backstage area, that's all done. As much as I wanted to do, like I say, no cover, nothing. It would just be, the train would just be stored, and that's kind of how these coasters would go anyway. And by the way, I forgot to mention it. No, the end of this catwalk doesn't need to line up here. They're weird, right? They're just weird. They have these really weird things, these really weird profiles where you can just have these transfer tracks that look like this, and this little bit just sticks out on the end. It's proper weird. So the Rocktopus, I didn't really do much to this. As you can see, I haven't really finished it, but I have just put the path covers in so that it's just there in context. Now you've got refresh. This is the food unit, so that's looking pretty much decent, pretty much finished. I think I'll do some touching up later on when we do this side of the park. Then you've got the photo unit. I decided that the park would probably take the effort to put these fences in to stop people from just wandering out and not seeing their photo. They would try and monetize as much as they can. So there are barriers and stuff that stop the guests from walking as well. And then this is the photo unit, nice and simple. Doubled up with a gift shop. I've started to put these ATMs in, by the way. I realise I don't have enough ATMs in my parks ever. These would be like a self-serve. That's kind of what I'm going for, but actually they double up as an ATM for actual functional purposes. But yeah, that's the ride photos and all of that sort of stuff. And then the train station, there's nothing really happened here. I just put the signs and stuff up. This station is going to be called Silverwood, and we're going to be done with it. But yeah, and that's because there's going to be a wooded area that's going to be at the back here. So remembering that the queue line would probably have been the other side here at one point. I don't know whether I'm actually going to put the graveyard of that queue line in here, maybe. I don't know. I'll see when I do this. But this is going to be Silverwood anyway. And then I'll just put the foliage and whatever flowers and stuff along the outside of the railway line. They kind of would do that. So there you go. There is the area. I like it. It's feeling open. It's feeling complete. It's feeling great. So guys, thank you for getting to the end of the episode. We're going to go for a ride in a moment. I really do appreciate it. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you haven't liked or subscribed already, then please do. And don't forget to check out the Planet Coaster 2 videos, because yeah, a lot of time went into that. So thank you guys. Have a good one. I'll see you next week. Bye.